So the next kit we have is the winter planter kit. Now this is a really beautifully textured kit, lots of different varieties of plants in one pot, and it comes in this beautiful Helena scalloped pot. It's just delicately kind of patterned around the rim with a matching saucer, and yeah, it's just focusing on texture, trailing plants, beautiful kind of seasonal plants, and it's just, yeah, really wintry and gorgeous. So I really hope you like this one. Okay, so in your kit you will have your compost, moss and gravel, and then you will have white heather, angel vine, hellebore, ivy, and a little cypress tree too. And you will also have your birch twigs and your dry thyme as well, just to finish it off beautifully. Okay, so let's pot this up. So adding in the gravel to the base of the pot, and then popping in a sprinkle, probably 2 handfuls of compost. And then we're going to start placing the plants in the pot. So I like to put the heather at the back, so that will go in. And then I'm going to put the ivy to the side of the heather. And that will trail so beautifully. And then in front of that, I'm going to pop in the hellebore. Now with the hellebore, you probably will need to put a little bit more compost underneath where it's going to be sitting, because it's just in a slightly smaller pot. So that goes next to the ivy. And then the other side of the heather, I'm going to pop the angel vine. So that will trail around the other side, like so. And then in the front, next to the hellebore, I'm going to put the little cypress tree. And that will go there. Okay, I love it. It's just so beautiful, so festive. They all look so gorgeous together. And I'm now going to add in the compost around. So gently adding in the compost in the gaps. And then sort of gently compressing the compost down. The main thing to note is to be careful of the hellebore, because sometimes its buds will be around the base of the plant. Okay, and now we can add the moss. So the moss, you will have your flat moss and your bun moss, and that just needs to go on top, simply where the compost is. You can take the root system off the back of the bun moss if you want it to be slightly flatter. So being really gentle around the hellebore, in case there are any buds. Okay, and that's about it for the moss. Now I'm just going to add in the twigs and then talk you through some plant care. So with the twigs, you've got your dry thyme and your birch. So all you need to do is break them down into sort of sections like this with some scissors or secateurs. It's completely up to you how tall you want your birch to sit, but I kind of like it about that sort of length. Not too tall, but impactful enough that you can see it. And then you simply just gently pop it in. It doesn't need to go all the way down to the compost. It doesn't need a water system. It just adds a lovely kind of wintry feel to the kit. Now adding in the dry time. So with the dry time you can simply break it off with your fingers. It's brittle, so it will just snap, which is what it's supposed to do. And then you can simply pop that in along with the twigs. Again, it just adds to that sort of foraged, wintry, textured feel. And that's about it. So in terms of looking after your winter planter, the soil needs to be kept damp but not waterlogged. So when you water it, any water that comes through, that's a good thing. If the water comes through into the saucer, that's a good thing. It means it's been thoroughly watered. But you then need to remove that water and then place the pot back on its saucer. That just stops any roots being sat in water for a prolonged period of time. The heather does beautifully. That quite simply will last and then it just dries slightly. So that's quite an easy plant to look after. The ivy is the same. Keep the soil damp and it will be happy and it will trail, and it's just a really easy plant to have indoors. Please be mindful that it's toxic to pets. Now with the hellebores, they're a little bit sort of tricky in terms of when the flowers go over and fade, you can deadhead. So it's just a little bit more upkeep, keeping it nice and healthy. So when the flowers fade and start to go over, you simply snip. So you've got your flower on the end of the stem, you go take your scissors down to the bottom of that stem and just snip it off. The buds will then grow and bloom in its place. The tree is, again, easy to look after, just keep it damp. That can then be planted in the garden come January, so can the hellebore. Or, I'm just trying to think, you could probably take the hellebore and the tree out and then sort of jiggle everything else around, and then that will last ages. I mean, months and months and months and months. The angel vine I have in my kitchen I've had for over a year and it's still doing beautifully. The ivy from last month's kits is trailing in my kitchen as well. That's doing beautifully. Everything is happy indoors. You might just find that the hellebores only last for the festive season really. They're not really, they're more of like a plant, like an amaryllis that can be indoors and will bloom and it looks beautiful, but it's not going to give you a longevity in terms of months and months and months and months. So that will do best being taken out come January and popped in your garden. The same with the tree. Pop that in your garden and it will last for years and years, and then just sort of move everything around a bit and you can keep everything else still in your planter. The angel vine, again, just likes to be kept damp. If you get little yellow leaves on, simply pick them off. If you think it's looking a bit shriveled, it needs a drink, and that's about it. So that's pretty much it with your winter planter. That's all the tips I'd give you in terms of upkeep. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this kit.